The general tendency has been, any time after such an incident between India and Pakistan, is to get both India and Pakistan onto the negotiating table. And sort of what that does is it kind of rehyphenates India with Pakistan. India needs to guard against that because it should come up with a counter strategy. And that's exactly why I think the foreign secretary is also there in Washington. Because India needs to combine with the US to expose what is the most important hyphenation in South Asia, that is China and Pakistan. It's important to note that, that this time Pakistan has to be projected as not being part of the solution but part of the problem, and therefore a global problem, and for which everybody has to come together and kind of solve that problem. And force China to make the choice not between India and Pakistan, but between Pakistan and the rest.
The basic thing, the first opportunity on that front is going to come on the 13th itself, and the UNSC is going to take up the proposal to proscribe Masood Azhar, the leader of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. China has blocked this move for many years. However, this time there is enough international pressure on China to lift the block. But to my mind, that's a low-hanging fruit. We need to go beyond this because enough pressure has to be put on China so that it can make a choice, not between India and Pakistan, as much between India and the rest. We have CIPRI data coming up. 70% of arms imports to Pakistan are from China. And I think these are the issues which the Foreign Secretary, who is there in Washington now, should raise with the US to somehow combine with the US to bring this pressure on China. See, that's where I think the real opportunity is, because there's been a change in Indo-US relationship over the last decade or so. There's been change in US politics. The tolerance towards terrorism has, really gone down, and the acceptance that Pakistan is the main sponsor of terror has somewhat been established after Osama bin Laden was found in Pakistan. So this debate is more or less settled. And in Donald Trump, you have a person who has drawn a red line on Pakistan, which is why something like an airstrike on Balakot was possible and gained international acceptability as a counter-terrorism measure. And therefore, the conventional response which Pakistan gave was treated as escalatory. What US can do now is, look, F-16s were used against India, all right? AMRAAMs, which is the air-to-air missiles, were used against India. These were bought, as we go back in history, if we look at it, these were bought using American taxpayers' money in the name of assistance to Pakistan to fight terror. But there is no condition, it appears, from whatever we cursorily have found, that they cannot be used against India. The US can start by taking moves to somehow assure India that weapons it supplies to Pakistan or has supplied in the past to Pakistan will not be used against India. That itself will be a big signal to China, because then that leaves China alone as one of the major suppliers to Pakistan to take a call whether it wants to choose between Pakistan and the rest. Look, going by Pakistan's track record, despite such sanctions, and we've seen that with LET and Hafiz Saeed and others, despite these sanctions, they somehow find, the deep state in Pakistan finds a way to keep these. They managed to do it with Osama bin Laden. This is Masood Azhar. So I think the impact will be more symbolic and political. That once again, let's go back in time a little bit. When the grey listing happened for the first time in the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF grey listing happened because of Chinese support. All right. So if this goes through, then again one more step that where China was forced to support the rest of the world against on the issue of terrorism against India. So to that extent, it's an important incremental move. But as I said earlier, we should not stop there, because these designations are symbolic when it comes to Pakistan's own track record. It's important to isolate Pakistan, and in that context, the first stop has to be China, because China is the main supporter of Pakistan. If Chinese begin to have a rethink, then a lot of things can change.